Hello everyone, welcome back to our resource geography. Today we will be discussing about why we need to study the subject or the discipline of resource geography. Earlier, resource geography was a part of economic geography. After 1950s, Professor Zimmerman and many economists has emphasized the need of developing or delineating the discipline of resource geography from economic geography. So in today's session, we will be knowing that what is the scope of studying the resource geography. So, we all know that resources are the free gift of nature. The human beings maintain their life by using these natural resources. But we should know that these resources has to be utilized wisely and properly. But what happens in the present century? The present century witnessed the unscientific ways of overutilizing the resources in the name of economic development. As a result of which, our environment is right now in a stage of an irreversible change of degradation. And this type of indiscriminate and unscientific use of resources in the name of development by the humans has created three major problems in our world. Let's look into which are the three major problems that created due to our overutilization of resources. First, overutilization of resources led to depletion of our resources as a result of continuous use by the few individuals. Secondly, the resources are not equally distributed throughout the world. Hence, the resource accumulation happened in the hands of very few people that divided the society into two segments. You all know that have and the have-nots, or we call them rich and the poor. And the most important one, the unscientific extraction of resources has created severe environmental degradation, and this has resulted in pollution and making our earth presently unsustainable for life. So here comes the need or the word conservation. An equitable distribution of resources is hence essential for a sustained quality of life. If the present trend of our resource depletion takes place, then it will create a dangerous situation for our future generation. The conservation use of natural resources refers to the utilization of natural resource in such a way that includes consumption as well as conservation by achieving the principle of sustainability. Hence, here comes the importance of the word sustainable. So, from where this conservation came? The term conservation came into use in the late 19th century. In the beginning, this conservation just refers to the management of resources mainly for our economic reasons. And later on, in the present century, in our 21st century, we thought that conservation is one of the words that we cannot avoid while using any resources today. Here I again tell you that conservation always focus on the way that consumption as well as protection of the resources through principles of sustainability. So I hope all of you know what is sustainable development. We have to meet the needs of our present generation by utilizing the resources without hindering the needs and the aspirations of the future generation. So, this concept of conservation of natural resources incorporates four major principles. What are those principles? We have to maximize the use of perpetual resources. We have to maximize the production of renewable resources, minimize the utilization of non-renewable resources, reuse and recycle the exhaustible resources. So, the principles of or the conservation of natural resources incorporates that maximize the use of perpetual resources, minimize the use of non-renewable resources through maximizing the production of renewable resources, and if we are using the non-renewable or exhaustible resources, we have to reuse and recycle. So, The natural resource maintains a balanced environment on our earth. That we all know that. Through the natural process of replenishment, the natural resource always tries to maintain back to its original state. But whenever overexploitation or unscientific way of using these resources exceeds its natural replenishment means the resource depletion will take place. Hence, the principles of natural conservation of resources is based on two major things. One is the concept of absolute and the other one is relative conservation. So let's look into it. What is absolute conservation and what is relative conservation? Absolute conservation, it always emphasizes both the quantity and the quality of the natural resources without any declination from their present state. So what the absolute conservation means is that we have to maintain the natural resources without disturbing their existing condition. They focus only on conservation of the resources without using them at all. So, under the absolute conservation, the humans are not supposed to use especially those non-renewable resources, thereby not disturbing their present condition. In such a way, we can conserve the resources. So, we are not supposed to utilize them at all. So, following are the objectives of the absolute conservation: to work with the nature, stop working against the nature, interfere with non-human species to meet the basic needs, and to protect the environment from degradation while using the resources. So what they mainly focus is that it is theoretical application of conservation of resources. We cannot practice it nowadays. Why? Because we need to utilize the resources for our development. At the same time, we have to conserve it. But the absolute conservation basically stresses on non-utilizing the resources and thereby protecting it for the future. Relative conservation is generally guided by the principle of use and conservation simultaneously. So here the relative conservation mainly focuses on the fact that we can utilize the resource at the same time the protection or the conservation of the resource should also go hand by hand. So they emphasizes the need of several integrated resource conservation programs while using the resources. So it is the resource or the relative conservation that focus on the need of conservation programs while utilizing the resources for our development. They focus on the concept of reuse, recycle and reduce the use of non-renewable resources. So, relative conservation is a much practicable approach for the conservation of our natural resources rather than our absolute conservation. So, what is the scope of our resource geography? We know that the development of any region and the culture of any society always depends on or it is always influenced by the resource available in that region. So, without these resources, we cannot attain development. At the same time, when this development takes place, resource depletion is a part of it. The resource depletion will automatically happen when we go for more development. Here comes the importance of resource planning. Hence, resource planning is a widely accepted strategy nowadays to overcome the problem of this resource depletion. The resource geography hence deals with effective strategies in managing the resources like our land, water, soil, minerals, energy and vegetation which are in the verge of degradation in the name of development. If you want to find effective strategies in the management of resources, we should know about the resource. The proper utilization and planning hence requires an even understanding of all the resources. Resource geography plays a crucial role in the study of resources to make it sustainable as per the conservation strategies. This discipline deals with the study of the origin and distribution of various resources found on the surface of the earth. Resource geography thus finds the means and the ways to reduce the overexploitation of resources. They also focus on restoring, regenerating, and re-establishing the resources that have already started its degradation. Hence, to overcome the problem of resource depletion and to conserve the resource for the future generation comes under the main domain of the discipline of resource geography, which makes it different from the economic geography. So, the economic geography mainly focuses on the developmental strategies. At the same time, along with the development, the preservation or the conservation of such type of resources that requires for the development for the future generation will come under the main domain of resource geography that makes it different from the economic geography. That's why Professor Zimmerman and many others have told that resource geography should be studied separately from economic geography. I hope you enjoyed the session. Thank you and have a nice learning.